Welcome to Run It Back, a show where we talk about everything in the world of UConn men's basketball. I'm Ben Jansen.
And I'm Sam Calhoun.
It was a big week for the Huskies this week as they had a top 10 matchup at the XL Center, and they were able to get a key Big East victory as they cruised past the Marquette Golden Eagles 87-72. This game was never really close. The Huskies had a big lead going into the under 16 timeout in the first half and just never looked back. Sam, what was your biggest takeaway from this performance against a high-quality team?
I think it's the guards because and that's been the trend lately. Like in January and starting with New Year's Eve and then through January, the guards just there wasn't a feel for like who could just step up and be that guard outside Jordan Hawkins. Tristan Newton's been huge. Andre Jackson was all over the floor yesterday, but Tristan Newton with that triple-double, that was the key, I think, to a big victory over Marquette.
Yep, we've talked about it before off air. I really think that this team is going to go as Tristan Newton goes. Mm-hmm. As good as Jordan Hawkins is, he's kind of a catch-and-shoot guy. He doesn't really create for himself. If Tristan Newton's clicking, he can get his own shot, and then he can get great looks for Hawkins. I think him staying at this level, obviously triple-double, first Husky to ever do 2 in the same season. He's playing at an insanely high level, really has gotten back on track these last 5 or 6 games. But for me, it's really, I loved what this team did in terms of their identity. Coach Hurley talked about it. They doubled up Marquette on the glass. They came 2 offensive rebounds short of matching Marquette's total just on the offensive end. And then you look at that game, they were blocking shots left and right. Marquette really couldn't hang with us in the paint. Even like the smaller guys like Jordan Hawkins were blocking shots. Everything was really clicking for these Huskies. But it doesn't get any easier. That was a quad 1 win against a top 10 team at home. There's another big one coming up. Saturday, UConn is heading to Creighton, a big time. I'll go as far to say it's become a rivalry matchup in the new Big East. UConn does not like Creighton. They have a lot of history losing to the Blue Jays. Finally got one this year at Gamble, and now they go to one of the 3 or 4 toughest places to play in the conference. Sam, what's your key to the game here? What are you looking for?
Well, I mean, UConn won the first matchup, right? And I mean, they've only gotten 1 win against Creighton, so I gotta disagree. I don't think it's a rivalry just yet. I think it can brew into one, especially with that battle between Adama Sanogo and Ryan Cockburn, which was that key matchup in the game over break during here at Gamble. And it's hard to sweep a Big East opponent. I said this before the Marquette game off air, and I was telling people, it's tough to sweep an opponent, and Marquette had won the game in Milwaukee. It's going to be tough for the Huskies to sweep, especially when Creighton's one of the highest teams, not only in the Big East, but in the entire country. They own one of the nation's longest active winning streaks, and they also have one of the longest streaks in the Big East, 7 games, since 2011-2012.
Yeah, so Creighton, they had those struggles around Thanksgiving, early December. This team is looking like the team that was pretty heavily favored to win the Big East, a team that was highly ranked in the preseason. I think they're really clicking. And this game kind of has a opposite storyline going in as to like the last matchup with Creighton. Last time out, UConn had lost a couple in a row. They needed to kind of get back on track. They won that game. It didn't really stick for very long. They kept losing again afterwards. But now, UConn's riding a 3-game winning streak. Big win over Marquette, now heading into hostile territory. Shaka Smart said it on Tuesday. When you beat a team at your home court and then you have to go back to their place for the second matchup, you have to anticipate that team and their fans, because you can't really talk about this game without talking about Creighton fans being some of the best in the conference. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be energetic. You have to come out and play a full 40 minutes, which even as UConn's gotten their mojo back a little bit here, there have been a few lapses at times where Marquette makes a little run or you kind of give up a couple points over a few minute stretch. UConn needs to be clicking on all cylinders for those 40 minutes. And like you said, it kind of goes through Adama Sanogo this game. Sometimes you kind of can get the vibe. Obviously, last game he had a massive game against Ryan Kalkbrenner. Ryan Kalkbrenner said some stuff in the preseason about Adama Sanogo, so you know both guys are going to have that fire underneath them. And then, pretty jarring, we just talked about their identity. That game against Creighton, UConn got smoked on the glass. So I think the boards are going to be the key here. Everyone has to crash. Everyone has to box out. and I think that's the key to victory for these Huskies, because both teams kind of content to fight it out, really make it a boxing match. It's going to come down to who gets the 50-50 balls, who does the dirty work, who plays the best defense, and there are two of the best defensive players in the conference in this matchup.
Yeah, with Andre Jackson and Ryan Kalkbrenner, those are two players that were named to the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year watch list. Those are the only two teams from the Big East that are in that conversation, that's really high regards to how great other players have been in the conference and the NCAA right now. And like you said, play all 40 minutes. I want to look back at that Seton Hall game. First half at Seton Hall, that was phenomenal. I loved everything about it. But then that second half, they can sometimes get too relaxed. The Huskies can get too relaxed, and that's something that you don't expect to win if you dig yourself in a hole. Whether it's early on or in the second half, I prefer to try and start off strong because then you take out those fans.
Yep.
Like you said, Creighton has one of the best fan bases in the Big East, and has been loyal for so long. And another key thing I want to talk about, Baylor Shireman, we're recording this, they just played last night at Seton Hall, and Baylor Shireman hit 5 threes and had a total of 19 points. It's not just Ryan Kalkbrenner that's going to be important to watch out for. It's going to be the guards like him, Ryan Nemhart, and Trey Alexander. All three of those guards are lethal and can be at any time.
Yep. Creighton, awesome on the perimeter, pretty good inside. I think looking back to that Marquette game, I think they're going to go about it in a different way, but I think the game plan defensively, pretty straightforward. Andre Jackson in Baylor Shireman's hip pocket, just like he did for Tyler Kolek. Little different because Shireman, you kind of don't want to let him score, whereas Tyler Kolek, you don't want to let him dish and create for others. But I think the key to not the key to victory, but one of the key aspects of what's going to make UConn win or lose this game is Andre Jackson's ability to slow down a guy who's become one of the better scorers in the conference this year, coming from the Summit League.
And it's not just about Andre's defense. I think it's also the boards. Like you said, I wasn't impressed with how UConn rebounded. It started off with Georgetown when we played Georgetown at Gampel. They got out-rebounded, then they got out-rebounded at Villanova. Then, like you said, they got crushed against Creighton on the boards. And those three were wins. Teams that they beat the Huskies took that rebounding thing and took that to their advantage. The second chance points, and then Andre Jackson is one of the best defensive rebounders in the conference. That's going to be what's key. Rebounds.
That's going to be it for today's episode of Run It Back. Make sure to tune in and cheer on the Huskies in that big Saturday afternoon tilt before we come back next week for a little home stretch as we head in to the most magical time of the year, as we head in to the end of February and March. For UCTV Sports, this is Sam Calhoun. I'm Ben Jansen.